Rakshasa. Couldn't be. Do you think? I think so. Oh dear. We need to know more about this. I mean, we can't just make false accusations. How do we get him? How do we know? It says here, the Rakshasa employed delicacy and misdirection in its pursuit of dominion over others. Few creatures ever see the fiend in its true form. Noteworthy deformity. Its palms are where the back of the hands would be on humans. We have to check his hands. I always knew he was a fiend. His jokes, they were just too bad. True evil. Yes.
Hey guys! How you doing?
Clive, you're here.
Hey! What do you call a dog with no legs?
I don't know. What?
Anything you want, he's still not gonna come.
It's funny. I know. How about a high five? That was a good joke. High five? High five.
High five. Yeah, just a second. That's my phone. I just gotta get the phone. I'll be back. Bye. Hey.
We'll get him. We'll find out. Hi everybody, it's me again. Here today to talk to you about Halflings and the race of Halflings. Halflings love the comforts of home, the hearth, the sitting by the warm fire, drinking, cooking meals in the kitchen. That's what Halflings really love, is the peaceful place of home. Although the Halflings love home, there are nomadic Halflings who love to travel and explore the world and get to know the world and go on adventures. But these Halflings still have a home, and that's usually the wagon they travel in. They still have a home, and they still have a sense of peace and love and care. They're not ones for violence or anything like that. Because Halflings are small, they try to avoid conflict and find peace wherever possible for their own defense, or they try to go completely unnoticed if possible. Halflings are about 3 feet tall and weigh somewhere between 40 to 45 pounds, and they've survived this long as a culture and as a race by avoiding conflict and staying on the edges of the political conflicts and the wars that are going on, because they're so tiny and they've got to look at their survival. So if you're playing a Halfling, you're probably not going to be the one who rushes into battle with, axe drawn or anything like that. You're going to be the one who's going to find a way to try and avoid that conflict in a clever way, or completely move around the conflict to get to the treasure, or get other people to do the conflict, because you yourself need to protect yourself as a very small 3-foot-high Halfling. Halflings are pale-looking creatures, or sometimes they have a ruddy complexion, but most of the time they're pale-looking, and they have wavy, sandy hair or brown hair and brown eyes. Halfling men may sport sideburns, but they don't sport beards or mustaches. Very, very rare to find a halfling with a beard or a mustache. Halflings usually wear comfortable clothing that's a little bit colourful, but very plain and simple in design. Nothing too fancy for the halflings when it comes to fashion. If you're playing a halfling, your simplicity is not just in your clothing. You live a fairly simple life. You will find the most practical solutions and the most straightforward ways of doing things. You don't show off your wealth. If you do have wealth, you hide it in your basement. You don't show it off. You don't wear it. You don't have fine jewelry, and you certainly don't go around telling people about it. The simple things in life are often the best for halflings, and they live the simple life. Halflings are all about relationships. So it's when they go on an adventure, it's not for the treasure, really. It's more to get to know the world and get to know new people and learn about new people and build relationships with people. And they will share their wealth. They feel pity for people. They're very easy to get along with, and they're loving people. So when they meet someone, they'll think the best of them, and they will be generous with their wealth, with what they own, even when times are hard. So if you're playing a halfling, you are a forgiving, loving person who cares for those around them and doesn't go on adventures for the treasure, but goes on adventures to meet new people and to learn new things and maybe get some new fashion along the way. Simple fashion, but to learn about fashion, to learn about culture, is something halflings love. And maybe that's why you go on your adventure. Halflings are very easy to get along with, but if you hurt one of their friends, they will come at you with great passion. So beware an upset halfling. But remember, the halflings also blend in very well. So they're good at stealth and they're good at hiding. So they're very helpful in parties when you're trying to get somewhere unnoticed, when you're trying to sneak into a party and listen in to what other people are saying, when you're trying to sneak into a location to find where a person is or what's going on inside. Halflings are very good at sneaking in. But again, don't get on the bad side of a halfling by upsetting their friends. Relationships are everything to halflings. So if they see a friend who is hurt, they will become angry. It's probably one of the only and rarest of experiences, one of the only experiences where you'll see a halfling get angry is when a member of their family or their friends is hurt. Most halflings live in very small, peaceful shires and communities. They don't have empires. They don't have aspirations for great empires. They don't even have royalty. If they're looking for advice on what to do, they may look to their elders in their community, the older ones, the wise ones in their community. But there's no kings or queens or anything like that. When it comes to empires, they steer clear of them, and they have very peaceful, very loving shires that they stay in. Although most halflings don't travel beyond their own shire, if they do, a lot of the time they're helping others and they're very helpful with others. And they'll do things like maybe they will be in charge of a caravan, a travel caravan, or maybe they are running a boat to transport people from place to place. But they stay in the background, really, running things like that when they are outside of their community and living in another community. Just remember, when you are a halfling, if you're on an adventure, it's not for any kind of treasure. It's usually either to protect your shire or to protect your friends and family on some kind of a quest like that, or you're wanderlust and you're just going out to reach out and meet new people. It is not about treasure. It's not about anything of that sort. It's just about either wanderlust or protecting your friends and family. Halflings get along with most races, and when it comes to the closest that they work with, the elves, the dwarves, and the humans are the ones they really love to get along with. They say the humans are much like them, the elves are just beautiful, and the dwarves are easy to work with. So they have a great admiration for the work ethic of the dwarves, and the beautiful artistry of the elves, and just the way that the humans work together to get things done and create their homes. So they get along with most of those, they get along with those three races. And pretty much anybody they encounter, they'll be friendly with unless they threaten them. In terms of names, they're given their name and then they inherit their family name, and they also may have a nickname, and sometimes that nickname sticks with them so much that it gets passed down from generation to generation as their last name. So when you're coming up with a name for your character, if you're going to be a halfling, look in the player's handbook for suggested names and last names as well. But remember, you're given your name by your parents and your family, and you have an inherited last name. But you may gain a nickname during the adventure that could stick and people call you that instead. Now let's take a look at the traits of the halflings. With halflings, your dexterity score increases by 2, which is very good for you when you are working with stealth and trying to move around certain obstacles and certain situations. Dexterity is a great benefit to you. Halflings are considered adults at the age of 20, and they live generally into halfway through the 2nd century of their life. So about 150 years in general they live. Well, as you can probably guess, halflings are lawful good when it comes to alignment. You won't find many, it's very rare to find a halfling that is anything else. They're very kind, they're very generous, and if you're playing a halfling, it is the wisest decision, if you're going to stay true to the race, to be lawful good. Some would say the downside of being a halfling is that your walking speed is only 25 feet, which is 5 feet lower than most races apart from dwarves and a few smaller races. But seeing as they don't really travel that much and they stay within their shires, it's not really much of a disadvantage. Okay, so here's one good thing about being a halfling. If you do some kind of a saving roll or attack roll with a d20 and you roll a 1, which usually sees a lot of trouble or usually backfires on you, you get to roll again and take whatever the second roll is. That's a huge benefit, because I can't tell you the number of times I've seen players roll in that 1, and it goes really bad for them. But with a halfling, you get the chance to get out of that 1 and do it again. Bravery is one of the attributes of a halfling, so you get advantage on saving throws against being frightened, which is really good if somebody's trying to intimidate or frighten you, or you encounter some kind of a creature that is absolutely terrifying, but you get advantage on your saving throw. Halfling nimbleness. If there is a creature that is larger in size than you, you can move through them. I mean, basically you slip through their legs because of your nimbleness, or you slip around them. So that is a good advantage to have, to sneak past people or to get past a creature that's blocking the way. If it's any size larger than you, you've got nimbleness and you can go past them. They won't block your path. Now let's talk language. You speak, read, and write Common and Halfling. Now with Halfling, they very rarely write down anything. So there's no great tomes or sacred texts with Halflings. And they're very, very reticent to share their Halfling language with others, although it is known around the community. They don't share it very often. Most of the time when they're speaking with other people, they will speak in Common, and they very rarely write. A lot of their tradition is handed down orally. So they tell stories, they sing songs, but they don't write it down. So it's a very strong oral tradition for the Halflings. Halflings have 2 sub-races, but they're not really sub-races. They're more like close families that know each other very well. But you get to choose from one of the 2 sub-races when creating a character as a Halfling. The 2 sub-races are Lightfoot and Stout. Lightfoots are the ones that are more prone to wanderlust and travel. They are very stealthy, and they are the ones who will probably be the ones that go out into the community to explore and get to know and meet other people. If you play a Lightfoot, your charisma score increases by 1. You're also naturally stealthy, which means even if it's just another creature that's 1 size above you, you can hide behind them. Now let's talk Stouts. Now Stouts, it's rumored, have some dwarven blood in them. They're very hardy. They're much hardier than the Lightfoots, and they have some resistance to poison. As a stout, your constitution score increases by 1. Good for drinking competitions in pubs and things like that, but also if someone tries to poison you, or if you accidentally ingest the poison, then it's probably good that you are a stout, because your constitution score increases by 1. As a stout, you also have advantage on saving rolls against poison. You also have poison resistance. So I guess the big question here is, why would you play a halfling? Well, with halflings, you have an opportunity to be diplomatic and charismatic, maybe alleviate a tense situation merely with your words. You are also stealthy, so you can sneak through places and help out a party to get from place to place, or know what's going on, or sneak past certain things. You're also well loved by the community, so you're very rarely would you have an enemy. You are not quick to anger, and you don't choose evil. So be careful if you're a halfling and your party decides to do something evil. You will probably be the moral conscience saying, no, that's not a good thing. Let's find a new way to do things. And you will try to propose simplistic and very diplomatically simple ways of getting around things. Possibly even avoiding the conflict and moving past it to get to where you need to go to help your friends. The only time you will choose conflict is when your friends are in danger or threatened. So halflings are a very peaceful race to play. So if you're not a murder hobo kind of character and you're looking for someone with more relationship, more conversation-based adventure, more getting to know characters and being a bit charismatic and adventuring for a bit of fun, then a halfling is what you'd like to be. That's the kind of character that's for. Not the slashing and fighting and all of those kinds of things, but more the role-playing, which is a lot of fun. So maybe a halfling is that kind of character that you want if you're into role-playing and conversations and diplomacy and finding peaceful ways to get around things. So that is the race of halflings. I hope you got something out of that. Why don't you tell me below in the comments if you've played a halfling or if you've encountered halflings. Give us some kind of humorous story about them. Tell us a little bit of how you would play a halfling, or if you have played a halfling, what you did with that. Some people aren't big fans of halflings, so if you don't like the halflings or playing the halflings, tell us down below why that is. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Ooh, what are we doing next week? Let me tell you. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing Dragonborn. Oh yeah, I love a Dragonborn. Okay, we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot. Catch you later.